Hey guys, what's going on? Mouse here. So let's talk about the fire team and the potential future of the fire team because of the recent findings that we've had, especially in WOBL and Soohyun in particular. To be honest with you guys, I'm having my doubts now on what's gonna happen with Kanae. So highly likely that Kanae will be the next banner and she's gonna be a fire DPS unit. And a lot of people are expecting her to be someone to be used in WOBL. The reason why I'm having my doubts right now is because of the recent findings that we found on the defense penetration. Well, these are old findings, but this is something that just has become extremely relevant currently. So if you haven't watched this video yet on how to achieve the maximum damage using defense penetration, the exact amount of defense penetration you need depending on the monsters you're targeting, I highly recommend that you watch this video. Here we showed how crazy Soohyun is in WOBL. So, and we're doing a lot of speedruns now. I think Typal already cleared these bosses at under or maybe around 30 seconds or something. The amount of damage output of Soohyun, just being able to kill this boss that fast. And I actually recently uploaded a speedrun video, kind of a speedrun video. And so with this, I feel like in terms of WOBL, okay, there is a chance that Kanae might not even be a WOBL unit. Okay, there is a chance that Isil is actually the only WOBL unit needed here, even for the hard mode, because Isil was built specifically for that WOBL. We can see here that her break effectiveness in the Worship of Brilliant Light increases by 24%. So, but we do know that her reason for, like, her main game content where she would shine, or the very reason she's here is gonna be for the fire WOBL. However, with Soohyun now being able to deal that kind of damage, it's now casting doubts on whether Kanae would still be even needed in that, because those monsters are high in defense. Well, it's possible that they're gonna give Kanae this amount of defense penetration too. So with that being said, well, we can already reach 100% ignore defense, right? Defense penetration, ignore defense, same thing. However, in the hard mode, for example, there is a chance, you guys remember that during the hard mode, you're gonna have the flame effect, like the 2 flames, and then one will be removed after a certain number of clears. So that one is something that we have not researched on yet. No one knows how exactly that works. Or maybe if you do, please leave a comment down below. We just know that it affects the boss strength, the boss stats somehow. And so, there is a chance also that Soohyun, for example, even though right now in the normal mode, she's able to achieve that kind of insane amount of penetration for that exponential damage that we're getting from her. And we all know also that the stats are going to be affected by the monster level, okay? But still, we would have enough for sure. It's still possible to reach that. And it's quite easy to reach that with the Black Lion set. However, we don't know how that flame marks actually work. Because if they add that, for example, for the first 1k clears or 3k clears, which is probably gonna last a few weeks, it's possible that that thing reduces the overall stats of the hunters, or maybe that thing adds some sort of a defense, something that cannot be penetrated. So we don't know how that one works yet. And in that case, if they do that, and if that is how it works, then there is a chance that Soohyun's damage is gonna be indirectly, or quote-unquote directly, nerfed, just for the sake of giving a space for Kanae in WOBL. So that is also one possibility. But if that was removed, I think we'll be fine. But we just don't know how that flame marks work, because we've seen it in Vulcan, we've seen it in Baran. So that's one of the things that worries me. But if there's not no sort of the stats reduction thing there, then I honestly think that Soohyun's gonna be fine. For real, as long as you reach a total power with the current setup. Of course, there's also a chance that they may add some kind of new gimmicks in the mechanics. We don't know that, of course. But I don't think they're gonna add that. We're gonna be so pissed if they do that. I think high defense monster is fine, but adding a different kind of very specific mechanics like the shield from melee, shield removal from melee, that's already like insane. Okay, I don't think they're gonna do that anymore. And in case Kanae is not for a workshop of brilliant light, and they actually just gave Soohyun a shining moment or a spotlight, because they really should. And the reason why they should give Soohyun the spotlight is because she actually has a skill spotlight. No, just kidding. But anyway, so let's say, for example, if Kanae is actually let's say the flame marks will actually for example, reduce the defense penetration of the units by a certain amount and affects even the passive penetration or stats, for example, or the crit rate, for example, then it will be a different story, because Soohyun's damage in that case is gonna be a lot less. To go out of the sweet spot that I've shown in the video, we're in at 80 to 100%, you're gonna get insane amount of damage output. At least that is one thing that we should at least think about or be prepared about, just so we're not gonna be surprised that, oh, why is Soohyun so weak? Soohyun got shadow nerfed again. Things like those. So just to avoid that. No? And by the way, guys, just before we proceed, we've got the new codes coming soon, which is going to be Mana Power Extract ×2. I really need this right now badly. And Skill Scroll as well for the 5th code. And so if you would like to support me and get these codes as a bonus, feel free to do so in the SLA Content Creator Program. Once again, thank you so much for all your support. Season is about to end again. That was too fast, by the way. But anyway, thank you so much, especially to the top supporters. Mr. Bombastic again, still here, undisputed. Usopar, Ens, oh, shout to you, bro. King Kong, Yoichi, and NID's here. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, let's go back to the video. And with regards to Kanae's kit, we already have an idea on what she will likely be. Of course, we have very limited information currently, and I think there are some leaks but are not clear yet. I think let's just take a look at what we have here now from the current units that we have, and based on this, we might make some assumptions or predictions on what she's gonna be, because that's always how it happens, because the support units, the breaker units, were built for a specific purpose. For example, Shimizu Kari amplifies Thomas Andre's shields with that Echo of Light, and then for example Maylin increases core attack and attack percent for Alicia, her weapon too, and then we have here a defense. So you get the point. Like, most if not all of these have synergies with their respective DPSs. And right now we already have the breaker and the support. So from the breaker, we are now getting up to 9% attack percent. From the support skill, we already have 15% attack percent here. And also from Gina's weapon, we also have an attack percent here up to 10% with the fire damage. And Isil's weapon now has a condition that increases the additional attack of the team member with the highest critical hit rate. So based on this, obviously, like, there is a high chance or high possibility that Kanae is gonna be an attack unit. So we're gonna see 3 attack type units, which is quite interesting, really. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why, what excites me the most about this team setup. All right, so based off of this attack, and then we've seen a lot of fire damage buff as well from the Prey on the Weak of Isil, from the mana circulation, as well as from Gina's weapon. And also the main thing here is Isil's weapon that gives additional attack to the team member with the highest critical hit rate. And so with that, we do know, well, it would be pointless for Isil or Gina to have crit rate, so we do know at least that the next unit that they're gonna be supporting will have a lot of crit rate or will be forced to have a lot of crit rate. And what I mean by that is, for example, we have Charlotte here. The user's critical hit damage stat increases equal to 10% of the increased damage stats. Mirai's attack increases depending on additional MP. And we still have a lot of these kinds of mechanics. And we even have that on Soohyun as well. Increases the user's damage increase stats equal to 24% of the user's defense penetration. So with this, I think it's gonna be highly likely that Kanae will have to have a certain amount of crit rate. And I think the most likely mechanics will be similar to that of Mirai, because she's Mirai's teacher, right? Increases the user's attack by 4% for additional 150 MP up to 40%. So that is also highly possible for Kanae, and it could be something like crit rate converted into also an attack, but I feel like it's not gonna be an attack because she's already getting a lot of attack from her teammates. But still, it's possible. Okay, it's possible, but it could also be something like crit rate into defense penetration, which is gonna be crazy if that's gonna be the case. And also, the reason why I think it might not be attack is because, for example, Mirai has a lot of attack passives, right? And I think the reason why they had to add a lot of attack percent passives on Mirai is that Hansumi does not provide that much. She's providing crit rate, crit damage, and wind damage and basic skill damage, not attack. So somehow they need to give more attack to the unit so that it will be able to have the ability to scale much higher, right? So in terms of Mirai, she's receiving attack percent, and her critical hit rate and critical hit damage is gonna be on her skills or the transformation. And I think it's also possible for Kanae, but it's also possible that Kanae will have similar thing that increases her defense penetration because she's a fire unit. However, I feel like they won't do that. I feel like Kanae might not be like a defense penetration type unit like Soohyun. And the reason is that it doesn't make any sense to add a new unit that will pretty much do the same thing. That's what I feel, at least, because this is probably already unique to Soohyun. And if they make another unit that's just gonna do exactly the same and just stronger, it wouldn't make sense and it might not sell. They need to add something unique to her. And that's the reason why I think Kanae might be a different unit. She's gonna have defense penetration, of course, but not similar to Soohyun. And another reason why, like, that could support this somehow is just somehow. For example, Chahae-in. Chahae-in is an ultimate based unit. She was the light DPS. Charge, then ult, then swap, charge, ult, swap. Somehow there is a similarity with Thomas Andre, but the mechanics are different. Thomas Andre has this transformation, basic skills, then ult, and transformation, basic skills, then ult. And also Chahae-in is a crit based unit, right? She will crit all the time, most of the time. She has debuff crit. In essence, they are different. They have similarities about the mechanics, but in essence, their stats, the way they work, is gonna be different. And with that being said, there is also a possibility that Kanae, although she will have penetration, of course, just to stay consistent with the fire unit, she might be the beginning of an introduction of a new mechanics for the fire unit, which is like the crit rate, because no one, absolutely fucking no one, has crits on the fire unit. Like, seriously, Choi still can't even crit until now. Choi still can't even crit until now. So that might be the beginning of something new for the fire unit. A mix of crit rate and penetration. We've already seen a mix of crit rate and ult damage, crit rate and skill damage, crit rate and crit damage. So we've already seen those, and this might be the first time for the fire unit to see something that has a good amount of crit rate and also crit rate passives. But of course, it's also possible that they just want to teach us how to add more crits, because apparently they did not mention, explicitly state that there is an over crit concept here that you really have to do if you want to deal more damage. So that is also a possibility. That would be funny though. So we already have like a defense penetration from the passives of the units, like A4 of Gina up to 8%, A4 of Isil up to 12%, so that's gonna be 20%. And so from the video I posted, we discussed there that stacking low amounts of defense penetration is not like something that's gonna be impressive. So would that mean they have to add a lot of defense penetration to Kanae? Probably not. They can add a bit of more penetration, like 30%, 20% maybe, and it will still work fine. Remember guys, that Thomas Andre, being not a penetration type unit, can clear this. I can still clear this. So it could be, depending on the multipliers, it might not even be necessary to actually pierce through the entire defense of this WOBL or the monsters here to be able to clear them quickly. But I feel like they really wouldn't go the Soohyun route. But at least if you have like 20% head start for the defense penetration, that is already gonna be very, very huge, because then you're just gonna add some stats. Then you might be able to use the Black Lion set, and you will still end up with a lot of damage output in. And if you have crit rates, which Soohyun unfortunately doesn't have, then that will be a different story. So could be a defense penetration unit, but I think they will not go the Soohyun route, like exactly similar to Soohyun. I think it has to be different for it to sell. Or possibly Kanae might be even for a different game content entirely, because they already announced the Ant Queen, the new guild boss. So she might be for that. And if that's the case, it's going to be super nice, because we can build two different unique setups using the two supports that we have. For example, we have Isil plus Gina that will work well with Soohyun, and will also work well and will have great synergy if you change Soohyun to Kanae for a different game content, right? So that is something that I am at least expecting. I want to be positive about that. I hope they don't mess that up. So right now, there is also another thing that bothers me really, is because of Gina's weapon right here. Is it has something that recovers MP. And although Isil and Gina are like relatively MP hungry compared to other teams, or even compared to Soohyun, for example, Soohyun doesn't consume much MP. So there is also a possibility of a similarity with a Mirai plus Hansemi or Gina plus Kanae that is gonna be MP related. So a transformation maybe, or an MP scaling damage maybe. So that is something that we still don't know. Or maybe they're just gonna make her something that has a huge MP cost, which is, come on, that's very not creative if they do that, right? And another thing that I want to show you is that the new weapon also has that MP thing, which doesn't make sense to me, currently at least, because the fire team right now doesn't have any MP problems. If you have the Gina's weapon, like just a minimal amount of MP consumption reduction, even on the guild boss, you're not gonna have any MP problems. And apparently they introduced something here that I think it's either they're just trying to be fancy, or it is for something, because the fire weapon increases MP recovery rate and a lot of MP stuff here. If it is just for this weapon, for example, but it is gonna be provided to the team as well, right? The MP recovery rate. But if it is just for this weapon and there's actually no synergy or use to any of these, then is a very, very bad thing, in my opinion. It's unnecessary to add those complicated mechanics if there is no purpose to them. But I trust that there is gonna be a purpose to them, because it doesn't make sense. Like, increase MP recovery of yourself and your team, right? That's gonna be passed on to your team, the butterflies and blooms. And Jinwoo himself has that MP thing, which is something that we've never seen yet in the fire side of things. So it's possible that this might be for another game content, like the Ant Queen, or maybe something else. Or maybe for Kanae, a weapon built specifically for Kanae, but why would you even have to add MP recovery rate here? Because Soohyun doesn't need this. Gina has MP regen for team. Isel doesn't need this. So they just have to be all together. Even in the guild boss, if you play the far team, they're not gonna lose as much MP, even if you're using the Moon Shadow plus book. There. So this is something that we have to pay attention to as well, because there might be something to this that is also potentially gonna be related to Kanae, being that we know that Mirai has a similar mechanics and Kanae might be the next type of Mirai, kinda, right? There's also another thing here that you might find interesting actually, is Gina's kit now makes a lot of sense, because before I feel like this is not something that is felt a lot with the lineup that we were using, but with this she grants a shield, decreases damage taken, a lot of shield percent, and the damage to the teammates. So with this we know that they actually thought about this, because they are providing more tankiness to a team, shields and tankiness to a team that are attack based and are expected to be very squishy. So I kind of like it somehow, and they're also pushing the stun effect on Gina as well, so we might find something that is gonna have a synergy with Kanae. So maybe a long casting time burst damage, she might actually be a burst unit, we don't know yet, but there is a possibility. And also there is another thing here that might be enabled. So this is something that always like has been like a question. Is it like a failed design, or that are the devs just drunk that they added like a DPS kind of thing here on Gina? This might actually be enabled with Kanae. And the reason why I said that is, for example, here in my latest post, Gina already dealt 1 billion damage. This is something that no other supports can do, I think. And that's just from what we have now. And what could possibly increase her damage more so that her kit would finally make sense is another source of defense penetration. And if Kanae can also give a defense penetration passive on the team, then Isil, Gina, Kanae, all of them will be able to deal DPS. Alright, so of course Kanae will be on top if that happens, but we might be able to see Gina finally being able to deal DPS, because remember, based on what we've discussed in the previous video, as you reach that highest point of penetration wherein you almost ignore the death, or somewhere close to that, the damage grows and grows and grows and grows. And if you add another layer of that, we have 20% here, and let's say for example you get 25% from your stats, that's 45%. And if you add the Black Lion to that, that's gonna be like 63%. And if you add like a 20% of that, you're gonna reach 80+% defense penetration. And if that happens, I'm pretty sure Gina's damage is gonna be enabled as well. Isil's damage is gonna be enabled as well if that happens. So this is gonna be like a full attack team that can deal damage. And even that Black Lion set is even recommended here on Gina's recommended artifacts, which doesn't make sense. Well, a lot of things here doesn't make sense, but at least this might be some kind of clue to what's gonna happen to Gina moving forward after all those months of her like not being on the spotlight. So she might end up being someone who can actually deal damage with her E skill, with her ultimate, because that's so weird, right? Why would you add a DPS thing on your A5? And so yeah, that's what I think for now. But again guys, those are just speculations, just expectations, like something that I would expect based on what we have right now. personally, but do let me know your thoughts. But overall, in my opinion, I would like Kanae to be something different, because if it's just gonna be like keep on replacing this, and that's gonna remove like the exciting part of the diverse gameplay, the amount of mix and match strats that you're gonna be able to do from mixing and matching different units, building different units. I know it's gonna be intensive when it comes to resources, but at least there is gonna be some kind of goal or something to do and something to enjoy, because Soohyun has already been here for like quite some time, and she just got her spotlight just now, and removing that spotlight like almost immediately wouldn't make any sense. That's like a disrespect, to be honest. Right? She won't even have like 1 month if that's the case. So I think at least, or I am wishing or hopeful that the devs are gonna give Soohyun some justice to be the unit who can do that, and Kanae that would be someone who can do something else, specialize somewhere else, maybe burst damage, ulti damage, fire units, a critical type fire unit, which is gonna be crazy. She might be the one. She might be the one who to achieve choice dreams. Anyway, just do let me know your thoughts, what you think about things, what you guys expect. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section. I want to also know what you think about this and what you expect, or whether or not you like the idea of Kanae being something else and not the Soohyun replacement, or you want her to be like an absolute perfect form of Soohyun, someone who can perfectly ignore the defense as well as do some crits as well. All right, that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and see you on the next one.